What if I told you that Apple is quietly pulling the plug on one of its most hyped iPhones, while China's rolling robots are changing the future of delivery? In a week of tech surprises, the world's biggest companies are shifting strategies, redrawing borders, and testing the limits of innovation. From Apple cutting production of its slimmest ever iPhone to Chinese Robovans hitting the streets by the thousands, this is the new frontier of global tech, and it's moving faster than ever. Hi everyone, this is your Tech Update, and we're diving into the stories shaking up the industry. Let's start in Taiwan, where heavy rains and typhoon winds have swept across the island's tech capital, Hsinchu. It's not just weather. It's a reminder of how fragile and yet resilient the tech ecosystem can be. Factories, chip labs, and design hubs have been forced to adjust as monsoon rains flood the streets. But innovation doesn't stop. Not here, not now. Despite the storm outside, Taiwan remains the heartbeat of global technology. It's where semiconductors are born, where Apple's supply chain hums, and where competition from China is felt every single day. Reporter Lolly Lee paints a vivid picture of this world, running through airports with her toddler one week, then chasing billion-dollar stories the next. In Hsinchu, she reconnects with old industry friends who remember when Taiwan's LED chipmaker Epistar was still battling China's Sanan optoelectronics for survival. Back then, China's playbook was clear: outspend, outhire, and outlast. They offered massive salaries, relocation packages, even housing and nannies, all to lure Taiwan's best engineers across the strait. It was industrial espionage wrapped in opportunity, and it worked. A decade later, Chinese companies dominate the LED landscape, while Taiwan's former giants have been forced to reinvent themselves in niche markets. That same fierce competition now defines the global smartphone race, and Apple, the world's biggest tech brand, is making a surprising move. The company is slashing production of its new iPhone Air to nearly end-of-line levels. Once seen as a sleek, revolutionary design, paving the way for Apple's first foldable phone, the iPhone Air just isn't connecting with buyers outside China. Demand has cooled, and Apple's quietly telling suppliers to slow down orders for parts and modules. But here's the twist. While cutting the iPhone Air, Apple's ramping up production for the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro by millions of units. That tells us something important. Apple's betting on its core flagship models, not the experimental thin one. The strategy seems clear: protect what works, refine the lineup, and wait for the next big innovation, the foldable iPhone, expected to debut in 2026. Until then, Apple's juggling tariffs, slowing sales, and fierce competition, and somehow still winning. While Apple fine-tunes its lineup, Europe is facing a tech storm of its own. The continent's automakers are dusting off their old COVID playbook, the emergency plans they once used to survive supply chain chaos. Why? Because the Dutch government has seized control of Chinese-owned chipmaker Nexperia, and Beijing isn't happy. In response, China's cutting off shipments, and Europe's car industry is scrambling. Nexperia might not be a household name, but its chips control the basics: airbags, lights, windows, even door locks. Without them, cars can't roll off assembly lines. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association has warned that supplies could dry up within weeks. Volkswagen has already set up a task force, while BMW and Stellantis are assessing the risk. This new crisis has reignited a global debate about control: who makes the chips, who owns them, and where they're built. Europe's chip crunch is colliding with America's push for independence in semiconductor manufacturing. And right in the middle of it all stands NVIDIA, the world's most valuable AI chip company. In a move that perfectly aligns with former President Donald Trump's Made in America vision, NVIDIA has started mass-producing its most advanced AI chip, the Blackwell, right in the U.S. This massive step was made possible by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., or TSMC, Apple's key partner and the global leader in advanced chips. The company has accelerated plans for its Arizona factory to produce cutting-edge 2-nanometer chips, while Intel's new facilities are already churning out its latest 18A node designs. Together, these milestones signal a new era, one where America is no longer just designing chips, but making them again on its own soil. But while the US and Europe focus on chip independence, China is quietly racing ahead in a completely different direction: automation on wheels. Beijing-based Neolix has just become the first company in the world to deploy 10,000 Robovans, self-driving delivery vehicles that can navigate city streets without a human behind the wheel. Think of them as the next evolution of logistics: rolling drones that deliver groceries, packages, and meals straight to your door. Neolix's executive president, Will Zhao, says this is only the beginning. He expects 10 million Robovans on Chinese roads within a decade. That number sounds staggering, but it's not impossible. China's e-commerce market is the largest on the planet, with the average citizen receiving more than 100 parcels last year alone. Combine that demand with cheap sensors, powerful AI, and falling battery costs, and suddenly, autonomous delivery at scale isn't science fiction anymore. The secret behind China's Robovan boom lies in its massive homegrown supply chain. Every component, from batteries to sensors to control chips, is made domestically and getting cheaper every year. That gives Chinese companies a huge advantage. While Western firms are still testing prototypes, China is already putting thousands of these vehicles on real roads, serving real customers. The competition among autonomous driving suppliers has driven prices down so fast that even smaller startups can afford to enter the game. And as the technology matures, Robovans aren't just about deliveries. They could reshape entire industries. Imagine grocery chains, pharmacies, or postal services running fleets of autonomous vans that work 24/7, never take breaks, and never call in sick. It's a glimpse into the future of logistics, one where the line between technology and daily life gets even thinner. And once again, China is leading the charge. So, as storms hit Taiwan, Apple reshuffles its iPhone lineup, Europe braces for a chip war, and China floods the streets with Robovans. One thing is clear: the global tech race is evolving faster than ever. Each region is fighting its own battle: the US for control, Europe for stability, China for dominance, and Taiwan for resilience. But in the middle of it all, the connections between them keep the world running. Every chip, every robot, every smartphone tells a story of competition and collaboration, of tension and progress. From iPhones to AI chips to self-driving vans, this is the blueprint of our future. A world built on innovation but shaped by power. And as we watch these headlines unfold, one question remains: who's really steering the technology of tomorrow? The companies, the countries, or the storms that push them forward?